I am ready for this cool down answer key video. So I am on page 44. Uh, this is the cool down for lesson 11. It says what's the same? So the first question here is figure B is the image of figure A when reflected across line L. Are figure A and figure B congruent? And that means the same. Explain your reasoning. So here, I look at, whoops, I'm looking at the wrong spot. Here, I'm looking at this and I see, okay, it looks like they're the same, but remember we can't just go based off of that. If I trace this figure A with my patty paper and reflect it across, that proves that they are congruent. And now I remember in our notes, we did say that if you perform a rigid transformation, then two things would be congruent. So I didn't even have to use my patty paper. Yes, they are congruent. And again, the reason is it's a rigid transformation. We performed with the reflection. And a rigid transformation gives us congruent shapes. All right, for number 2, for each graph, determine if the two shapes are congruent. If yes, prove by giving a sequence of transformations. If no, show a specific corresponding part that isn't congruent. When I look at this, for this first one, I see my original shape down here. Now, how do I know that's my original shape? Because it doesn't have the primes, right? So I have this quadrilateral ABCD. Looks like it's a trapezoid. I'm going to see, can I get that performing rigid transformations onto quadrilateral A prime, B prime, D prime, C prime, D prime. So looks like I can, and you guys know the iPad doesn't do real well with this, but I'm going to do my best. Looks like I can rotate 90 degrees around point C clockwise and then translate up and to the left. But let's just make sure that that is indeed what will happen. So I'm gonna try my best on the iPad. Those of you that are my students, you know I have trouble with this sometimes. But let's see how we do. Okay, if I translate it 90 degrees clockwise around point C, that means point C is going to stay stationary, right? So let's see if I can do this. So here's my shape. Come on, stay stationary right there. Point C, 90 degrees puts it right there. Hey, I think I actually did pretty good. Okay, so I've got my 90-degree rotation, and you can tell I went clockwise, right? I went that direction around point C. Now, can I translate this? So let's see if I, now this should be easier. If I translate this, let's see how many units up would I have to go? 2 units up. 1, 2 units up, and then 2 units to the left. 1, 2 units to the left. Whoops, I almost had it. Darn it. Would you look at that? It formed right on top of that A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. I'm going to go ahead and write down that, yes, they are congruent. So yes is my answer. Oops, helps if I'm actually using the pen. Yes is my answer. How did I get that to happen? What was the sequence of transformations that I did? Well, I rotated 90 degrees clockwise around point C. And then I translated 2 units up and 2 units to the left. Awesome. Now with your patty paper, you may find that you can do just not one translation. You can do one transformation and that's it. No other transformations need to happen. If you can figure out how you can do this with one rotation, but I'll let you figure out where that center of rotation is. For B, this one looks like I would have to do a reflection and then a translation to get that over there. But I noticed something. It doesn't pass the eye test. And what I mean by that is I'm going to put no. And the reason is I can tell just by looking at it that this side length is different from this side length, right? If I zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit easier, and you count how long is that point DE, or this point DE, that side DE, it's, from here to here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. It's 5 units. But point, I keep saying point. Line AC is only, and that's from here to here, is only 1, 2, 3, it's only 4 units wide. And I could tell that just by looking at those side lengths are not congruent. Those side lengths aren't the same. So no, these two shapes are not congruent. And it says in the directions, if no, show a specific corresponding part that isn't congruent. It's the base of the triangle. So I'm going to show that by circling those two sides of the triangle. Okay, I'll even put it into words though. So no, line DE is not congruent to line AC. All right. D is not congruent to AC. All right. So for this last set of questions here, for this last set of problems, it says use the diagram to name an angle with the given measurement. Use 3 points to name the angle. So this is how we've been naming the angles, right? You start with one of the endpoints, go to the vertex of the angle that you're looking at, and then go to the other endpoint of the lines that form that angle. So it wants a 35 degrees other than angle GCD. So GCD is the angle that they gave us. So what we're looking for is another angle that's 35 degrees. And remember what we learned about vertical angles. If I rotated that angle 180 degrees around its vertex, around vertex C, that's going to give me that other 35 degree angle, and I see what's there. It is FCH, this one right here, so that's what I'll put down. Angle FCH. All right, which one is 55 degrees? Well, that's an interesting question because I don't see any 55 degree numbers on there. I see that I have this 90 degree symbol. So that makes the next question easier. But for this question, where are they getting that 55 degrees from? Well, glad you asked. When I zoom in here, right? So here is my 180 degree line. My straight angle is that line GF. Okay. I know that a straight angle is 180 degrees. I know 2 of the measurements of the angles that make up that 180 degrees. I know this 35 degree angle, and I know this 90 degree angle. And if I add those 2 together, 90 plus 35, that's going to get me 125 degrees. So what's left? Well, for this angle, it's that 55 degrees. So that's what they're asking us to label these 55 degree angles. That's where that's coming from. And in fact, I just gave us the first answer. So it is angle DCA, DCA, which is the angle I just labeled. But I'll go ahead and get rid of all my stuff there so we can see it a little bit easier. DCA, it's this angle right here. Well, now what angle is vertical to that? That would be BCH, right? It's the angle I get when I do that 180-degree rotation around point C. So angle BCH. Now the 90-degree angle, that is, I'll get rid of all that stuff. The 90-degree angle is from that symbol right there. So ACF, angle ACF. That one's already labeled for us. But it's the vertical angle. It's the one right below this one that is also 90 degrees. So that would be angle BCG. I had some questions about, does it matter which endpoint you start with? Like, could I label this one that I just did, could I label that as angle GCB instead? Yeah, absolutely you could. Yes. Okay, that is the same. That's labeling the same angle. Okay, the order does not matter for identifying that angle. And the last one is 125 degrees. So here's another one that isn't labeled on this drawing or this diagram, but I already said that these, this 90-degree angle and this 35-degree angle adds up to 125 degrees. 90 plus 35 is 125. So to label that one, that would be DCB. To get that one, so angle DCB. And then to get the other one, well, that's just, it's vertical angle, which would be these two right here. And that is angle ACH. All right, if after watching this video you still have some questions, maybe you don't understand it completely, make sure you ask your teacher. Thanks, guys.